collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Deluxe Class Armada Universe Hotshot from the Transformers Legacy Evolution line from Hasbro. So you can see very similar packaging to Legacy, but definitely have kind of a different color palette here. Everything has this kind of fun green glow to it. We have some nice artwork here of Hotshot in vehicle mode on the front, and then some nice artwork of Hotshot in robot mode over here on the side. And then over here we have one half of our kind of new Legacy Evolution group shot. There's not really an Autobot and Decepticon side anymore. It's just kind of, two halves of this giant picture. And then over here on the back we have a robot mode and vehicle mode product shot down here. And then we have the Evo Fusion gimmick, which is just his cannon flipping around from the back like the old toy used to do. Not really too much going on the bottom, but it looks like the QR code for the tech specs are now on the top instead of on the back. So, not much of a change there. But I'm going to go ahead and get Hotshot out of the packaging here, and we'll take a closer look. So here is Hotshot out of the packaging. I think he looks fantastic. Very reminiscent of the original figure, but definitely has some improvements. He's actually got shoulders this time, which he did not have before. I mean, I guess he kind of did, but the hands could only kind of swing out to the side. So we actually have a rotation and a hinge here, as well as a bicep swivel, 90 degrees in the elbow. The forearm and the hands are one solid piece, so there's no wrist movement, but I don't really think he needs it. Head sculpt looks fantastic. Really did a nice job there. Nice paint for the eyes. He has a little visor that can come down, which looks really cool. You have some nice translucent blue there. Head can swivel from side to side. I guess you have a tiny little bit of front to back. Not really anything in the tilt side to side, but really just kind of swiveling side to side. Nice silver paint here for the harness on his chest. I would have liked a little bit of black paint here on the shins just because the original toy had it, and it would really bring out that detail. Over here on the legs, they're a little hollow, but not too terrible. They do have these panels that go over the back. And you have some nice silver here for what will be on the hood of the car and the headlights. You do have a waist swivel. You have hips that can kick forward pretty much all the way back, so that you start to hit into this section here. Kick out to the side, no problem. Thigh swivel. The knees get a little weird because of the way that they transform. So this yellow piece kind of pegs in there, and you can still use the knees. You kind of get more forward knee, which doesn't really make any sense, but then you really start to hit into these pieces. Technically, if you wanted, you could put them off to the side, and then you could get more range out of the knee. And these things don't really click in place back here. There's kind of like a little channel that kind of rests on this piece here. So when you bring this in, it just kind of sits on there. It doesn't really snap into place or anything, just kind of, guides it somewhere to naturally rest. And then you have an ankle tilt. Now, these pieces do clip in. You can see underneath that there is a yellow tab, which is going to rest in that space there. So if you want to utilize the ankle tilt, you have to unclip it from there. And then you do get a little bit of front to back in the toe as well, mostly because of the transformation. But yeah, he's pretty cool. I like him a lot. He does come with his engine accessory. Just like the original toy, it's got two peg holes here, so you just pick one to put in his hand. I don't really think you can put the other one in his hand. No, you can. Perfect. It just clears. So that's cool. He does also have his Evo Fusion gimmick, which, if you remember the original toy, the Minicon actually activated this. You have this piece that can flip around, and then you put the visor down, and then you rotate this 90 degrees, although I believe I've rotated it the wrong way. There we go. It doesn't really matter, but I believe you can put a effect piece in there on this side. And there you go. There he has that back cannon, the bazooka, which is pretty cool. I like that a lot. And it's very simple to flip back down. And I mean, you can put the visor up or down anytime you want. It's not linked to that. But yeah, overall I think he looks good. Really nice articulation, nice paint applications. I really like the giant Autobot symbol here on the front. I think that looks fantastic. Like I said at the beginning, it's very faithful to the original toy, but definitely has some articulation improvements, which I really like. And then, of course, we have to put him with our Armada Legacy Starscream, or Legacy Armada Starscream, I guess I should say. You can see how they scale up. And we can give Hotshot the Star Saber that came with Starscream. I feel like it scales a little better with him. It looked a little too dinky for Starscream, but I think with Hotshot it actually looks pretty cool. And now these guys can fight. They each have a sword. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I really like the look of Hotshot with the Star Saber. I think that looks really good. All right, let's go ahead and get into transformation. You're going to start by taking the arms, straightening them out, and rotating them 90 degrees towards the body, like that. You're going to come around to these shoulder pieces here, and they are going to unpeg. You can see that they were pegged in to this little spot right here. This one doesn't stay pegged in as tightly. It's not a huge problem because it's not like they're going to go all over the place, but this one I think pegs in pretty snugly. And then this one just kind of floats. But again, it's not that big of an issue. So you're just going to kind of bring these up and get these out of the way for the time being. Once you unpeg those two, that will allow you to drop this section down so that you can rotate the head into the body and then close it back up. Then we're going to take this whole backpack piece, which is going to kind of unpeg and rotate out. So how this works is you can see there's two pegs here on the back, and they peg into these two spots right here. So when you kind of drop this down, then it kind of like naturally, snugly sits in there. So you kind of have to back this away and then bring this around. And then this whole section will come around. And then you can see that there are two spots right here and here that these yellow pegs are going to go into. So this is going to come around and just drop right in there. And then you can take these and rotate them down to seamlessly become part of the car. Now you can see we still have a Minicon port here, even though he did not come with Jolt, which is kind of a bummer. But I believe old Minicons will work, so if you have the original Jolt, you could go ahead and use that there. Maybe they'll give us some updated Minicons as like a pack later on once they have more Armada characters out. Only time will tell. You're going to flip these feet sections down like this. And then this is where it gets a little interesting. So we have to rotate the waist 180 degrees. And then you want to kind of float this out of the way. You're going to unhook the knees from that peg. And I feel like the arms always get in the way while I'm trying to do this. But you want to rotate this up so you can see how the hinges are back here. Basically, you just want to collapse this up by rotating this up like so. Now, these don't really, they have these tabs here, and it looks like they should tab in somewhere on the forearm or like the back of the hand here. They don't really. They kind of sit in a cavity, kind of. It's more of just kind of like a, again, like a guide, kind of the way these things were on the back of the leg. They don't really snap in or peg, but they just kind of give a little bit of stability to that. So you're going to rotate this around again. And then unhook this from the knee. Make sure this piece is rotated out of the way. And then rotate this up. And again, the hands like to get in the way. I kind of wish there was something better to do with those. But once you're all said and done, they won't be in the way. Okay. I need to rotate these around like this, because they're just on these ball joints here. So you can just move these all around. And now you just want to snap this all together. You have to snap these pieces back in so they will pretty audibly snap. There you go. And then I find with this one, it's pretty beefy, so I kind of like to feed it in from the bottom instead of trying to push it together. I just feel like that works a little bit better. But then everything else... Oh, I did forget one little step. There are these little panels back here. You can see these little yellow panels right here. They need to flip around like that. So you just flip these little yellow pieces out. I mean, honestly, you kind of could leave them out the whole time. I don't really know why it's a separate step. I guess just to clean them up a little bit when they're on the leg. And then this will all peg into there. And then as you can see, the car is pretty much taking shape. You're going to just take the doors and close them up. And they actually will peg in. So you can see that they have a tab right here. And that tabs in right there. So bring that in, tab that all together, and there you go. We have Hotshot in vehicle mode. So I like this a lot. I mean, it's unmistakably Armada Hotshot. I mean, they really nailed the design there. But it's a little bit sleeker, less bulky. I feel like the original toy was a lot chunkier. And I think this just looks proportionately a little better. You have some nice silver here on the front, and again for the headlights. Now, the original toy, you would take the guns and you would peg them in here, which of course we can do that again. But that would cause these to spring open, and that isn't a spring-loaded thing, but if you want, because they're just his feet, you can go ahead and kind of replicate that. Now, the original toy had these little like saw blades painted on here to kind of add to the illusion that it was a weapon. Obviously, we don't have anything like that, but if you want to just pop this on here and pretend that they sprung, whatever, you can do so. So you don't have to, though. I mean, obviously you can leave these closed up to just be the front fender there, but if you want to kind of replicate that play action from the original toy, you absolutely can. So I think that's kind of cool. Like I said previously, you could go ahead and peg in a mini-con partner there. It's not going to do anything. The other thing is that you can tell that these are all done in the translucent blue, and then they had to paint the top. The yellow doesn't perfectly match, but it's honestly not that bad. It's a fairly decent match. The rest of the yellow is kind of very bright, and then this you can tell was painted on, but it's really not that bad. I do really like all the translucent blue windows. I think that all looks really sharp. And if you wanted to pretend that he could open his car doors, you could certainly do that as well, even though the windows don't come along. And then you can see you've got some spots over here to peg some things in, so if you want to keep him with the Star Saber from Starscream, you can go ahead and peg that on there, and it will store no problem. And technically, you can kind of still use the gimmick in this mode. It just doesn't really make any sense because it's just going to flip around and not do anything. Maybe you could pretend it's like a gyro and he's flying. I don't know. But anyway, that can technically still be used in this mode. It just doesn't really make any sense. But I think this vehicle mode looks absolutely fantastic. I think they did a really great job with this. Just a really nice, sleek update to Hot Shot's original vehicle mode. I think Hot Shot really came out great. I've had kind of a love-hate relationship with Armada in terms of I like the designs, but a lot of the toys had problems back then where like the spring-loaded gimmick would make it so that the toys had weird proportions. I always go back to Starscream with that giant shelf that just jutted out from his back because of the spring-loaded blasters. Or in the case of Hot Shot, he only had out-to-the-side arm movement because of the way they made him. So it's really fun to get those old designs, but now updated with modern toy technology. In the instance of Hot Shot, they kept those like iconic giant car spoiler shoulder pads, but still gave him the ability to have normal shoulders, which I think is such a nice improvement. And so it's just really fun because, like I said, there really were some fun designs from back then, just they couldn't really implement them with the toys because of like all the mini-con gimmicks and spring-loaded features. So it was kind of a trade-off because, I mean, part of me did enjoy having the mini-cons activate those features, but at the same time, a lot of times, the robot mode suffered from those spring-loaded features. So in this case, we actually get to have the character and have that kind of iconic design from Armada, but with much nicer articulation, and I think Hot Shot's really a perfect example of that. Even Legacy Armada Starscream was a perfect example of that as well. So I think this guy came out really cool. I think he looks good. Transformation's fun, really not too difficult. I really like the inclusion of the gimmick here, where you can have the bazooka flip around from the back, but it's not spring-loaded, so you don't have to worry about anything kind of getting in the way or anything like that. You can just use it and deploy it as you see fit, which is really nice. I think the visor worked out well. Articulation on this guy is fantastic. Like I said, I love the fact that he's got normal shoulders now. And even with the legs in terms of articulation, he's got much better articulation than the previous version of Armada Hot Shot. Most of the time, I would say the paint applications look pretty good. I wish I would have had a little bit here on the shin. Yeah, he doesn't have that saw blade on the side of the foot, but I'm not really missing that personally. These previously used to hang off the back of his arms, so I feel like it's nice to have them stored here on the back. Gets a little clunky, but it's not too bad. It's nice to have just kind of his normal clean forearms here without a bunch of stuff hanging off the back. So I think they really did take the essence of the character and just make it a much better toy, much cleaner, better articulated. I think overall it's just a really nice job. So I definitely recommend checking this guy out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.